Demonstrating best practice insect pest control in Southern Australia is a project delivered by the South Australian NoTill Farmers Association, with funding support from the Australian Government's National Landcare program.
Less disruptive insecticides really underpin integrated pest management, focusing on biological natural enemies controlling your insect pests. So if you're using insecticides to support that natural enemies, then you want to be choosing insecticides that don't also kill those natural enemies. The other thing is, of course, with markets, particularly into Europe now, being more discerning, they don't want chemical residues, and therefore limiting older style chemistries that hang around is much more acceptable to the modern consumer. So the insecticides that have traditionally been used, such as your group 3As, your synthetic pyrethroids, do tend to kill everything in the paddock. And so that's why industry is moving more towards the group 28 chemistries that only target particularly lepidopteran pests, or caterpillars as you'd probably know them as. Of course, the other thing that's coming out of Europe now is the use of biorational pesticides. These are basically organic products that work equally as well as those old chemistries. And some examples of that would be the Vivis or Diapel that has been used in Australia for a long time, particularly in cotton, but also new products such as servIces. So in 2021, we looked at a biorational product, servIces, and it has several modes of action, including disrupting mating, disrupting feeding, and has been registered for use to control cotton bollworm in cotton. In the southern regions, growers are interested in controlling diamondback moth in canola, particularly the Eyre Peninsula. There's also been a problem in the mid-north since farmers have gone to disc and stripper fronts, and they retain a lot of wheat stubble with armyworm, which again is another lepidopteran pest. And traditionally, of course, in faba beans, farmers have had to deal with bubworm or Heliothis. So by engaging in growers, we actually looked at a number of different pests, also including cutworm on the Eyre Peninsula as well. So we were looking at using this biorational product, servIces, with growers to how it would fit into their farming systems and dealing with the different pests that they encounter during the season in the different crops they grow. So we started doing some monitoring using the traditional delta trap, as you can see in here, which relies on a pheromone. These different lures are specific to individual species of moths and catching them flying. So we actually put these traps out with these lures inside. If you can see, there's a lure sitting inside that. So the growers were in making decisions, and that's when they actually applied the servIces to actually test how efficacious it was. Liaising with myself, the entomologist, it was tying the monitoring to actually work out exactly when it was to happen. These results have been published, and these conclusions is, although farmers want to adopt these biorational products because they have less disruption to their natural enemies, which is something that we did see, the problem is they're difficult to apply, they technically require more knowledge, and they are more expensive. And 2 instances, the grower actually stepped in and applied a conventional insecticide in those areas. Because
the outcomes of the project have been communicated at the SA NoTill conference, at collaborative field days, and a detailed report was distributed via the association's newsletter. The detailed project report is free to access via the link in the description below.
Some of these biorational products, such as the servIces that we trialled, when they're going to apply them, they have to get the timing absolutely right. And so that requires a lot more monitoring, and industry is not always prepared to do that. I think it's the main outcome that we need to engage with growers a lot more in explaining how to use these new biorational products.
Demonstrating best practice insect pest control in Southern Australia is a project delivered by the South Australian NoTill Farmers Association, with funding support from the Australian Government's National Landcare program. With special thanks, the farmers that hosted the demonstration sites across South Australia: entomologist Dr. Michael Nash and Ag Innovate for the supply of servIces.